to Joe Stunner Boxing. Hope you're doing well. Got the weekend nearly here. There's a bit of a question that's been doing the rounds. It's been mentioned on a few channels that I follow. I think G-Man Boxing mentioned it. Only yesterday, I think it was. Shout out to him as always. But that question is, can Tyson Fury somehow rehabilitate his damaged reputation? Now, there are some people, of course, who'll say, well, why is his reputation damaged? We don't, he doesn't need to do that. Let him do what he wants. Okay, that's an argument. Fair enough. Some people love him no matter what he does, so they don't feel his reputation has been damaged. And again, you're entitled to your opinion. It's not one I agree with, but you're entitled to it. But to me, his reputation most certainly has been damaged, and he needs to repair it, in my opinion, with a two-pronged attack. Number one, obviously in the ring. He's got to start fighting legitimate contenders, defending his belt, behaving as a heavyweight champion should, trying to clean out his division, which he hasn't done. And that's the first thing. The second thing is he'll have to deal with his public persona, with how the public perceives him. He got an awful lot of traction when he came back from his issues after the Klitschko fight. Really picked up an awful lot of admiration from the public, which has now, pretty much dissipated. And you got your fanboys, but generally speaking, I think people have gotten wise to what the game is, and no amount of spin from Warren and Gareth A. Davies and all the other shills and hacks can really hide it. But the question, can he rehabilitate on both those fronts? In my opinion, yeah, he can. He can. It's not going to be easy. And there are always going to be people who remember the bad stuff, because there always are. Some people get criticised no matter what they do. Some fighters who never duck anyone still get criticism. You can find criticism with anyone on anything. It's not difficult. But let's start with the actual fighting. I think it's pretty obvious what he's got to do as far as cleaning out division goes. After this Ngannou thing, bear in mind Fury's 34 now, so he's not young, but at the same time he's not old for a heavyweight, and he hasn't had that many wars. He had that little bit of a bloodbath with Otto Wallin with the bad cut eye. He had the three with Wilder, which were quite taxing. But apart from that, Steve Cunningham maybe, that was a tough fight. But apart from that, there aren't that many miles on the clock. He's pretty well preserved for a 34-year-old. So the obvious thing, and I'm not going to say anything really that you probably haven't thought of, is fight Usyk for all the belts. Become undisputed for all the belts. And then, having done that, I think people will say, okay, yeah, you've done that. Well done. That's what we've been asking for. That's what you should do, because you're a belt holder. You're a champion. You're not a contender. You're supposedly a champ. So do that, and then defend them against legitimate contenders, without any of this nonsense about, well, they're a different generation, and to me, and I'm, no. Hergovich, Frank Sanchez, Bacoli, maybe. Who else can we have? Maybe Jared Anderson further down the line. Who else have we got? Magmadov. Yeah. Is that enough? Let's say he went on a little run. I mean, it doesn't have to be those four fighters, but let's say he defended against 3 or 4 guys, legitimate top 10 guys from this era. It doesn't matter what age you are. I mean, Tyson Fury is 11 years older than Jared Anderson. So what? He's ranked in the top 10. Anderson. The age thing doesn't matter at all. If he does that, if he, let's say, goes on a little run over a couple of years, beats 4 top 10ers, add that to Wilder and maybe a Dillian White if he's still in the top 10 in a couple of years. I think he will be, but at least then you can look at the top 10 contenders and say, well, all right, he beat 5 of them or 6 of them maybe, which is a lot better than, I did a video going through all the rankings, all the ruling body rankings, the Ring Magazine rankings and the Box Rec rankings, and from none of those rankings had Fury fought more than 3 people in the top 10. In a couple of those rankings, he only fought 1. So you got to do more than that if you're going to say you're the best of your era. If you're going to say that you're the best ever, and I think proving he's the best ever, I mean, you probably have to carry on until he's about 38, 40, and clean out more than just four or five contenders, you'd have to absolutely do everyone in. Obviously Joshua is another fight, massive barn burner. If he doesn't matter that Joshua's lost before, does not matter. That's irrelevant. Okay, he hasn't fought him. Okay, and Joshua, of course, over the next year or so, I mean, he might knock out White, score another win or two against legitimate foes, and suddenly, he's back in the mix, and he's working with Derek James, and suddenly he's a legitimate opponent again, a legitimate threat, not just to Fury, but people are saying, okay, he's got his mojo back now. That's what it's about. You learn from your mistakes and your defeats, and you build on that. So if Fury does it, let's say, just off the cuff, he beats AJ, well, he beats Usyk, he beats AJ, Hrgovic, Magmadov maybe, and Bacoli as a voluntary, something like that. Beat five people in a row. You're back in the driving seat. You're back in the mix. People can't then turn around. They can turn around and say, well, at one point he was a joke, which Fury is, to be honest, right now. But yeah, okay, he turned it around. He did his thing. He started beating these people, these legitimate opponents. Yeah. Credit to the man. He turned it round. Because obviously he's a very complex character, Fury, and emotionally, mentally, very much a control freak, big gaslighter. Which brings us to really the second prong of the fork, which is rehabilitating your public image. He currently has that image of being a control freak, someone who gaslights everyone, someone who lies a lot. And how does he get rid of that? It's quite simple. Honesty. You don't really even have to be humble. He can stop making those stupid videos where he just slags everyone off and says that they're calling Usyk a middleweight and calling everyone a pussy or whatever insults he. For some reason, bald. He calls people bald. I don't know what. You're bald yourself, mate. Leave it. Leave the bald thing. Okay, your dad's bald. Lots of people are bald. Nothing wrong with being bald. But, it's childish. It's infantile. Do you really want to, how old are you? 34 now? Come on, man, grow up, grow up, grow the hell up. And so, yeah, there's that element to it as well. Start not being humble, but just cut the BS. Do you know what I mean? And also, maybe even give your opponents a bit of credit. Because, certainly Fury, when it comes to Chisora and Joseph Parker, who basically he's got under his wing now that he's beaten Derek 3 times, giving him his nice little walk off into the sunset paycheck. Derek's like, oh, Tyson can do no wrong. Well, you kind of, in prison terms, you're kind of becoming someone's bitch, if you do that. And as for Joseph Parker, who's his biggest cheerleader, I don't know what the hell's happened there. Parker does not seem to me to have much ambition. Fury should be a guy he's targeting to fight, not hanging around with him and his family and just being good buddies. But you can be nice to people. You can. Fury for a while had that momentum where he was big on the mental health thing. He was helping people. Also, if he was to rehabilitate his private image, his public image, or maybe on his private one, but his public image, you've said in the past you'll fight for free. Stop putting everything on pay-per-view. Have a fight, a voluntary defence against some. How many millions do you need? How many tens of millions does one? I know you got 6 kids and you'll probably end up with 60, but for Christ's sake, give something back to the fans. Fight a voluntary it doesn't have to be for free. Say it's 10, 20 quid to get in to see me, and don't put it on pay-per-view all the time, like the Chisora fight, the third one, which is an absolute farce to put that on pay-per-view. So he can do those things. Fury says he doesn't care about the public perception. He most certainly does, and he's proved it. He's massively egotistical. Like I say, he likes to control everything. He likes to control the narrative. He's completely a control freak. One of the reasons he dipped badly mentally was after the Vladimir fight was, okay, he reached the top of the tree. He wasn't getting any he wasn't getting the plaudits and the love that he felt he should get. And that's a key word. Tyson Fury likes to be loved. So he dipped. He said, oh, the hell with this, threw the belts in the bin, walked away, got fat, and, then when he came back, because he had a different attitude, the public were like, yeah, we love the guy. I'm the same. Go to some of the earlier Joe Stunner boxing videos, and I was singing Tyson Fury's praises. Because he deserved it. I mean, that third fight with Deontay Wilder, I wasn't that fussed about that. It turned out to be a brilliant fight. I was amazed. The guy's got the ability, both inside and outside the ring, to have a very positive, constructive narrative, not a destructive, toxic one. You know, you don't have to be. And he does care about being loved by the public. He most certainly does. And you know what? The public would love him if he actually made an effort and, you know, gave something back instead of take all the time. Also, if you do that, having said all that stuff in the past, you come across as a liar. Stop lying. Come across as being honest. Come across as being decent. Come across as being, dare I say it, the people's champion, a man of the people. You know, why do you think Manny Pacquiao's loved? Look at the things he does over in the Philippines for homeless people and stuff. They love him. You know, and Duran was another one. The people loved him because he gave stuff back. You got to do that. You got to do that if you want to be cared about. And he does want to be cared about. He says he doesn't, but he does. He does. And that, if all this mental health stuff is true and not just a sort of shield to hide, shall we say, some darker stuff in his mind, then that would help his mental health massively if the public gave it back to him. Because you give positive vibes out there. I'm getting all hippie on you now, but you give vibes out, you give positivity out, you get it back. Some people call it karma. I'm not sure I believe in karma. I tend to think it's sort of wishful thinking, wearing a different cologne. But I do agree with the principle. If you, generally speaking, you give positivity out, you get it back off people. Because most people are decent, most people are fine, you know. So yeah, those are just a few thoughts on Tyson Fury, how he can rehabilitate his image, both inside and outside the ring. Do you agree with what I say? If not, comments below. I'll debate anyone, as long as we're respectful. I ain't got a problem. And thank you for your time as always. And like the channel, hit that subscribe button, like the video if you like the video, and like I say, leave your comments and I will answer them. I always like reading your comments. Yeah, take care of yourselves then for now. I hope you like the video. Bye for now.